Bulldog broadcast on the field of 68 Media Network. I'm your host, Dan Dickau. Just wanted to recap the WCC Conference Tournament, Gonzaga's performance in that, as well as preview what it might look like on Selection Sunday for not just Gonzaga, but for the WCC in general. I thought the WCC Tournament was as good of tournament in Las Vegas that I can remember in recent years. Obviously, Gonzaga won it. They get the automatic bid. But when you look at, I think, what it does to prepare Gonzaga for the NCAA Tournament, as well as USF and St. Mary's, who I think will both easily be in the NCAA Tournament field, both those two games in Vegas, the semis and the finals, gave Gonzaga another quad one win, which will solidify their 1 seed in the West, and I think the overall number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, allowing them to pick where they want to go and what region they want to be in. So I would imagine they'll be in the West region. I would imagine they would have picked to be in Portland, where their great contingency of Northwest-based fans can make it. But when you take another step back and look at that San Francisco game was a good challenge, because they got a chance to play a good team for a third time on the season, but a second time in about a 10, 11-day stretch, because they had just played San Francisco the Thursday of the final week of the regular season. But they got a chance to play a great backcourt, which anytime you're getting deeper into the NCAA tournament, you're going to face a team with a really good backcourt. Anybody that's followed the tournament for any amount of time knows that a lot of times the Cinderellas are based on a guard getting absolutely hot at the right time and moment of a game. You look at last year, Oral Roberts with Max Asmus. He was that guy. So Gonzaga had a chance to play against a really good backcourt of San Francisco, and they did a tremendous job of limiting Bouye. I believe Bouye was 1 of 11 from the field that night, 0 of 7 from the three-point line. Shabazz got going. He had 27 points. But, if you listen to the podcast before, he can get streaky at times. When he gets hot, he can get really hot. But Rich Swain had a nice game of 20 points in the semis, and Stefanini really didn't do much. But it's a nice 4-guard lineup that presents a lot of different problems and a lot of different things that I think are going to prepare Gonzaga scouting report-wise for a possible matchup with a team in the NCAA tournament. Then you look forward to that second game at the WCC tournament, the title game against St. Mary's. St. Mary's ranked 17th in the AP and the coaches poll. They're top 20 in net, top 20 in KenPom. They're just a darn good basketball team. I mean, you look at it, and they had just beaten Gonzaga 9-10 days before in the regular season finale in Moraga, where they completely dominated most facets of the game. They controlled the tempo. Defensively, they were really good, and they took the physical play game to Gonzaga's bigs, in particular Drew Timme. What you see in the title game, though, was, they figured things out a little bit. Gonzaga didn't have a single assist from their backcourt in that loss at Moraga. Then you go to the title game, they were terrific. All 3 guards, Bolton with 18, Strother, I believe, had 15, and Nemhart had an unbelievable night. 19 points, 7 assists, only 1 turnover. This, again, after a 0 assist and 7 turnovers combined night from those guys. They really came out to play. They were the ones that controlled the tempo. Yes, St. Mary's was physical again, but Gonzaga really didn't let that affect them. Drew Timme, as he's shown throughout the course of his career, if somebody else has it going, he doesn't try to impart his will on the game when it isn't necessary. So he had 10 points. So St. Mary's did a nice job on him, and you saw physical play against him. You saw physical play against Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren, I don't think he struggled that night. He just got into foul trouble because of the physical play on both sides and the officials letting it go a little bit. But I think those 2 games, in addition to the 2 regular season finale games, are a perfect way for Gonzaga to wrap up the season leading into what's really important obviously it's the NCAA tournament, but I think it's important in more ways than one because Gonzaga continues to hear people from different fan bases being critics because of the league. Well, if you look at the league, they're second in the country with quad one wins. The last 4 games Gonzaga has played have been quad one wins, or excuse me, quad one games, and they've gone 3-1 in those. The only one was a road loss to St. Mary's, who will be in the tournament. When you look at many of these other leagues across the country, you're not seeing people being able to say that we finished the last 4 games of our season, regular season, postseason tournament, playing 4 quad one games. You're looking at some of these teams struggling against other teams in their league, and when you look at the analytics, they just don't match up. They're nowhere near what the top of the WCC was. So I think you got a great boost for the ability to continue to call this a banner year for the WCC.
Before we move on to the next topic, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
With that theme, Gonzaga is a lock 1 seed. I think they're a lock for the overall 1 seed. I think St. Mary's, when you look at it, I think they're probably a 5 or a 6 seed. Maybe in the eyes of the selection committee, they might drop them to a 7, but I sure as heck hope that's not the case. They've had a tremendous year. I think they need to be rewarded. Hopefully they're somewhere in a pod out west where their crowd would be able to travel and support them. Hopefully maybe that would be maybe a pod in San Diego. I know that's a closer one. I don't know if they'll be in Portland. I haven't seen any particular bracketologist updates having them in Portland, but that'll be interesting to track and see. USF, they to me are solidly in the field. And I know you're going to get a lot of people concerned. I don't think they're in, but if their metrics show everything that they're going to be in. They're sitting around 24, 25 in the net, sitting around the same number in KenPom. I cannot foresee any reason that they would be left out. They even passed the eye test to me. When you watch them against Gonzaga in that last regular season matchup, and then you watch them in the conference tournament, they look like a team that should be in the NCAA tournament. They look like a team that could win a game, maybe even 2 in the NCAA tournament. And that brings us to the last team that is still fighting for their chance to be in the NCAA tournament, and that's BYU. They ended the season. I believe it's 22-10. Their net is hovering right around 50. Their KenPom is right around 46, 47, I believe, the last I checked. They still have an outside chance, and part of it is because they played a nice non-conference schedule, and I think that's something that you see a lot of other WCC teams are beginning to really kind of buy into and adhere to. We need to play great non-conference. St. Mary's non-conference has gotten better. USF's non-conference was solid this year. Gonzaga is always going to play those tough preseason tournaments as well as those kind of venue showcase games. Yeah, they're going to have some quad 4 games at home at McCarthy Athletic Center, but they mix it up really well with having those marquee games. But on the other side, when you look at Gonzaga's quad 4 games, a lot of those quad 4 games are from teams that are going to challenge for league titles. And this is hard to truly differentiate and understand if you're not looking at it too deeply, but there is a differentiating factor between a lot of quad 4 wins. A quad 4 win against just a ragtag team where the coach rolls the ball out and they just play to play is much different than a quad 4 game for a team that's competing for a league title and a chance to play in the NCAA tournament. You look at Bellarmine. They hosted Bellarmine the first year in Division 1 in the A-Sun. They've been a Division 2 team for a number of years. They won the A-Sun tournament, but because they're a Division 1 first-year team in transition, they don't get the automatic bid, which I think is ridiculous. But Gonzaga would schedule those type of teams for their scheduling purposes. But BYU, solid non-conference, a couple games that are really going to come back to hurt them. In particular, I think the one that hurts them is the loss to Pacific. I mean, Pacific is 295, I believe, in the net. It's a game that's really, I think, going to come back and really hurt them. Had they won that game, I would imagine they would have bumped up a tiny bit in each of the important analytic categories. So that being said, I said a lot throughout the year. I thought it was a 4-bid league. I think it's completely a 3-bid league, and I think that 4th team, BYU, has a little better shot at it than the average fan understands or realizes. So fingers crossed. Things happen with the other teams that are on the bubble right now, and BYU can get in, because that would be awesome to see the banner year for the WCC continue. If not, there'll be a tough out in the NIT. I believe Santa Clara, if they get to the NIT, which they should, they were playing tremendous basketball at the end of the year, only losing by 3, I believe it was, to St. Mary's in the semifinals. It would be great to see those teams make deep runs in the NIT tournament. So for the Bulldog broadcast in the field of 68 Media Network, I'm your host, Dan Dickau.